Welcome to Have You Read It, the channel where we bring books to life, one summary at a time. Today we're diving into Walter Isaacson's captivating biography, Benjamin Franklin, An American Life. Get ready for a journey through the life of one of history's most fascinating figures, a scientist, inventor, writer, diplomat, businessman, and of course, a founding father. This is a story of wit, wisdom, and the very invention of an American identity. Isaacson paints a vivid picture of Franklin's arrival in Philadelphia as a 17-year-old runaway. Even at that young age, Franklin understood the power of image and narrative, skills he would masterfully employ throughout his life. We explore Franklin's ancestry, tracing the roots of his independent spirit and practical ingenuity back to his great-great-grandfather in Ecton, England. This exploration highlights the importance of lineage in shaping Franklin's character, particularly the tradition of youngest sons striking out on their own to make their mark in the world. It was a lineage of descent, craftsmanship, and a love of learning. Franklin's father, Josiah, embodied the Puritan work ethic, instilling in young Benjamin the value of diligence in thy calling. Josiah's influence is crucial, as it laid the groundwork for Franklin's later connection between private virtue and public service. Josiah's emigration to America was driven by a combination of religious and economic motives, reflecting the complex reality behind many early American settlers. This blend of faith and finance, so characteristic of the Puritans, shaped Franklin's own pragmatic approach to life, and his belief in the link between religious freedom and economic freedom. Franklin's early education in Boston was limited, but he made the most of his father's small library and his access to borrowed books. Works like Pilgrim's Progress, Plutarch's Lives and Cain Santas, and Cotton Mather's Bonifacius kindled his ambition and shaped his vision of progress through individual endeavor. At 12, Franklin was apprenticed to his brother James, a printer, which exposed him to the world of journalism and public discourse. It was during this apprenticeship that Franklin began to hone his writing skills, crafting clever and satirical essays under the pseudonym Silence Dogood for his brother's newspaper, the New England Courant. He also got his first taste of challenging authority through the paper's anti-establishment stance. The sources discuss a pivotal event in Franklin's young life, his escape from Boston to Philadelphia at age 17. This runaway journey marked a shift from the restrictive Puritanism of Boston to the more tolerant and entrepreneurial atmosphere of Philadelphia. It also allowed Franklin to reinvent himself and to create the very identity he wanted. In Philadelphia, Franklin's charm and industriousness helped him find work with various printers, including the eccentric Samuel Keimer. These early experiences highlight Franklin's ability to network and to make himself indispensable, traits that would propel his rise in Philadelphia society. The sources reveal the less savory side of Franklin's youth, including his abandonment of Deborah Reed, his dalliance with low women, and his dubious dealings with Governor Keith, who had promised but failed to provide him with financial support for his trip to London. These episodes show a young man still learning to temper his ambitions with integrity and responsibility. Franklin's first trip to London at age 19, accompanied by the aspiring poet James Ralph, was a period of intellectual growth and personal experimentation. It was during this time that he solidified his break from Puritanism, embracing the Enlightenment philosophy of deism, although he later found it lacking in moral guidance. On his return voyage to Philadelphia, Franklin formulated a plan for future conduct, which laid out his pragmatic rules for a virtuous and successful life. This plan, the first of many personal credos, marks a turning point in his development, signaling his dedication to self-improvement and civic engagement. Back in Philadelphia, Franklin's entrepreneurial spirit blossomed as he established his own printing business and published the Pennsylvania Gazette. He used his writing talents to outmaneuver rivals, defend a free press, and promote his own brand of civic-minded journalism. The sources highlight Franklin's formation of the Junto, a club of young tradesmen dedicated to self-improvement and civic betterment. The junto's activities, from debating philosophical questions to establishing a lending library, reflect Franklin's deep belief in the power of association and the importance of an engaged citizenry. Franklin's marriage to Deborah Reed, though based on practicality and convenience, evolved into a supportive partnership. Deborah's industriousness and frugality complemented Franklin's own values, and she played a crucial role in his business success. The sources discuss the mysterious circumstances surrounding the birth of Franklin's illegitimate son, William. This episode adds to the complexity of Franklin's character and raises questions about his personal relationships. It becomes a recurring theme in the later, more turbulent aspects of their relationship. The sources describe the success of Poor Richard's Almanac, which showcased Franklin's wit and homespun wisdom, while also serving as a vehicle for promoting virtue and, of course, generating income. The almanac's popularity cemented Franklin's place as a prominent voice in colonial America. Franklin's various civic improvement projects in Philadelphia, from establishing a fire company to improving street lighting, reflect his dedication to making the city a better place to live. These endeavors highlight his organizational skills and his belief that public service can be combined with personal fulfillment. Franklin's involvement with the Freemasons provided him with another social network and furthered his rise in Philadelphia society. This association underscores his ambition and his ability to navigate the social complexities of the time. The sources discuss Franklin's engagement with religious and philosophical issues during the Great Awakening, including his defense of the free-thinking preacher Samuel Hemphill and his complicated relationship with the evangelist George Whitefield. These interactions reveal Franklin's tolerance, his entrepreneurial spirit, and his evolving views on the role of religion in public life. Franklin's service as clerk and then as a member of the Pennsylvania Assembly marked the beginning of his formal political career. His focus on practical matters, such as improving city streets and advocating for paper currency, reflects his pragmatic approach to governance. The sources describe Franklin's development of a distinctly American political philosophy, one that combined individual liberty with civic responsibility, economic opportunity with social compassion, and a distrust of both aristocratic privilege and mob rule. This philosophy, rooted in his middle-class values, would become a defining characteristic of the new nation. Franklin's scientific inquiries into topics such as electricity, heat, and meteorology were driven by a combination of intellectual curiosity and a desire for practical applications. His inventive spirit led to breakthroughs such as the lightning rod, the Franklin stove, and bifocal glasses. The sources detail Franklin's experiments with electricity, culminating in his famous kite experiment, which proved that lightning was a form of electricity. This discovery not only cemented his reputation as a world-renowned scientist, but also demonstrated his ability to combine theoretical inquiry with practical invention. Franklin's appointment as joint postmaster for the colonies furthered his vision of a unified America. His postal reforms, including the establishment of a more efficient mail delivery system, reflected his organizational skills and his understanding of the importance of communication in building a nation. The Albany Plan of Union, drafted by Franklin in 1754, was a seminal attempt to create a framework for colonial cooperation. Although the plan was rejected at the time, it laid the groundwork for the federal system that would eventually be adopted after the Revolution. Franklin's second mission to London as a colonial agent in 1757 was marked by increasingly tense negotiations with the Penn family, the proprietors of Pennsylvania. These disputes, fueled by Franklin's growing frustration with proprietary rule, laid the groundwork for his later break with Britain. The sources provide a glimpse into Franklin's personal life in London, including his domestic arrangements with Mrs. Stevenson and her daughter Polly, and his conflicted relationship with his son, William. These relationships reveal the complexities of Franklin's emotional attachments and his evolving views on family and social status. The sources discuss Franklin's efforts to manage the fallout from the Stamp Act, including his attempts to restore his reputation in the colonies and his advocacy for a boycott of British goods. This crisis marked a turning point in his relationship with Britain and propelled him further down the path to revolution. Franklin's testimony before Parliament in 1766, arguing against the Stamp Act, solidified his status as a leading voice for the American cause. This appearance, a masterclass in political persuasion, helped to secure the Act's repeal. The sources describe Franklin's deepening involvement in the growing conflict with Britain, including his increasingly forceful arguments for colonial rights and his escalating war of words with British officials. His writings during this period reflect his evolution from a cautious mediator to an ardent patriot. Franklin's return to Philadelphia in 1775 coincided with the outbreak of the Revolutionary War. He immediately joined the Continental Congress and became a leading advocate for independence. Franklin's role in drafting and editing the Declaration of Independence underscores his central role in the founding of the nation. His famous edit of Jefferson's phrase, "We hold these truths to be sacred and undeniable," to "We hold these truths to be self-evident," reflects his Enlightenment faith in reason. Franklin's diplomatic mission to Paris in 1776 was a crucial turning point in the war. His ability to win the support of France, securing treaties of alliance and commerce, was a diplomatic triumph that helped ensure American victory. Franklin's life in Paris, filled with social engagements, scientific inquiries, and literary pursuits, reveals his multifaceted personality and his ability to blend serious work with playful diversions. He cultivated relationships with leading figures of the French Enlightenment, including Voltaire, and charmed the ladies of Paris with his wit and gallantry. Franklin's role in the peace negotiations with Britain in 1782 highlighted his diplomatic skills and his commitment to securing favorable terms for the new nation. His ability to negotiate a separate peace with Britain, despite America's treaty obligations to France, was a masterstroke of diplomacy. The sources describe Franklin's final years in Philadelphia, including his service as president of Pennsylvania and his continued engagement in civic and intellectual pursuits. He also became an outspoken advocate for the abolition of slavery. Franklin's closing speech at the Constitutional Convention in 1787 was a powerful plea for compromise and unity. His words, reflecting his lifelong belief in the power of cooperation and the importance of humility, became a cornerstone of American political philosophy. The sources discuss the complex and sometimes troubled relationships Franklin had with his family, including his estrangement from his son William and his deep affection for his grandson Temple. These relationships provide a poignant counterpoint to his public persona and his often stated belief in the importance of family. Franklin's final years were marked by increasing physical pain, but also by a continued engagement with the world. His last public crusade was for the abolition of slavery, a cause he championed with his characteristic blend of moral conviction and pragmatic advocacy. Franklin's death in 1790, at the age of 84, marked the passing of one of the most remarkable figures in American history. His legacy, however, continues to shape the nation's identity and its values. The main takeaway from Isaacson's biography is that Franklin's life is a testament to the power of self-invention, the importance of civic engagement, and the enduring strength of the American middle class. Here are a few easy-to-remember heuristics from Franklin's life. Diligence in thy calling. To pour forth benefits for the common good is divine. Fish and visitors stink in 3 days. Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. A life of leisure and a life of laziness are 2 things. Lost time is never found again. He that has once done you a kindness will be more ready to do you another than he whom you yourself have obliged. And a republic, madam, if you can keep it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you never miss our next book dive.